Morning, guys. Welcome in. How's everybody doing? Happy Tuesday. Morning, White Man, Jonathan, Apri, Michael, Ace, Mena, Spliff, Morning Man, Tread, Express, welcome in. How's everybody doing? Happy Tuesday. We have a lot to go over today on this Tuesday. A lot to go over. I was looking back at my session yesterday, and I didn't really do much yesterday. I mean, from a trade perspective, I didn't really do much. I looked back at sort of my trades and I was like, what if I just traded SPY yesterday? SPY actually was a really nice technical chart yesterday. SPY and Nvidia are both really nice charts. Tesla really not. Tesla a little ugly, and we'll talk about the ugliness in Tesla. I did take a little bit of a loss on yesterday in Tesla, but not much. I ended up kind of taking almost basically break even yesterday after taking a little bit of SPY. But we should have focused more so on SPY yesterday. SPY actually was a really nice chart. If you guys remember what we talked about yesterday, a lot of the things we spoke about yesterday's session was what happened on SPY, right? We initially maintained the 550, we broke down 550, we saw the downside move. We knew the downside move was only to the extent of what? We knew downside was only to the extent of 545, which this was a massive support where we can look for longs. So yesterday's session actually was a really tactical day if you were an indice trader. Even if you were not an indice trader, there were some tickers outside of indices that moved pretty well. Case example was Nvidia. We'll talk about Nvidia today. Nvidia 106, a really nice tactical hold spot yesterday off that 106 demand bounce, which also was in our main watch list yesterday, right? 106 being a big demand to watch out for. So from a technical standpoint, names yesterday actually did work out pretty well. I think Tesla just a little bit of a choppier chart. Tesla yesterday, a little bit of a 292, 291 rejection yesterday session. Now, question becomes today, is it tradable today? I mean, maybe, right? Maybe it is, right? We found some support back in that 270 area. We'll talk about now the supply above is 21. We're going to go over AMD. We'll talk about AMD and the same overhead supply here at 98 being a big technical level. Apple also, I focused on Apple yesterday. Apple really was not a big mover, right? Yes, you saw some downside under our trend line, under our 209 level. We saw some downside back into 20750, but 20750 acting as support. That was a highs of Wednesday session, and this kept the stock from going lower. Now, this ultimately became sort of another range stock, right? A lot of names became range-bound stocks yesterday. And so we're going to see today, do we break those ranges prior to our earnings on many of these names? Because many names are reporting earnings on Thursday and Friday. So we're also going to go over that. So we'll talk about these things today. So again, we'll go over Apple, we'll go over Meta, we'll go over, of course, Tesla. Tesla, we forgot. If you guys remember, we forgot Tesla yesterday. So we're going to go over, of course, Tesla today. We'll go over Meta. We'll talk about the Meta chart, the 554 level. We're also going to talk about some other names as well. We're going to talk about, we'll go over HIMS, HIMS. We'll go over HIMS. There's some news on HIMS. I'm sure everybody's kind of interested to see what's going on with HIMS. So we will take a look at that and we'll dive right into it. So yes, Microsoft earnings as well. A lot of big things to talk about. And this is so important, right? I mean, I'll tell you this honestly, right? This is my honest answer is a lot of things in life are luck, right? And you guys know that, right? I'm sure many people know that. I'm not going to be a philosopher here. I'm just here to show you guys charts. But that same idea translates over to charts sometimes. Sometimes you're watching Nvidia, watching Tesla, watching SPY, and all of a sudden you trade Nvidia, right? And Nvidia is the one name out of the three, right? That just don't work, right? And the other three work, but why did you trade Nvidia? Was it because Nvidia was more phenomenal than the other two or the other three? No, it was just simply luck of the draw, right? Trading a lot of times is luck of the draw, and that's why. I mean, not all the time, right? But this is why I do these pre-markets for you guys as well, is because I want you guys also to trade the things that we talk about, right? Because this is just levels, right? A lot of times there's some bias incorporated with what we talk about here, but I try to make it as unbiased as possible. That's why you saw yesterday, look what happened on SPY. Very technical day yesterday, right? Almost exactly what we spoke about yesterday is what occurred yesterday's session. And now we're seeing some technical holds, and we'll talk about these technical holds today. We'll talk about what we can do today's session. So let's dive into it, guys. What I want to do is I want to go into our earnings reports, their econ data, then we're going to go right back into our charts. So it is 8:38 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We have 900 people in here, and we have 220 likes. That means you have less than 20% likes. Get the likes up, get the subs up. Almost 11,000 subs here. To be honest with you, I care more about the subs than I do the likes, but do them both if you can. Okay. So on the on the earnings reports. On the earnings reports going into our Tuesday session. Tuesday session, we have SoFi gapping up into the major 14 level. We have PayPal as well, UPS, JetBlue, Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola spoke a lot about the resiliency from the tariffs, right? They're not impacted by tariffs as much as other companies. And you're seeing a little bit of some relative strength coming here in KO. Pfizer, also we'll talk about Pfizer. Maybe look at Spotify as well. So we have a lot of names to go through today, guys. Which means we are going to have to go through things fast today. So just we have to deal with it, right? So I'm going to go. I usually talk very fast. Today we're going to go a little bit even faster. So Tuesday also Visa after hours, Starbucks after hours, Snapchat after hours. And besides that, going into our Wednesday session, you guys know Wednesday and Thursday are the biggest days of the week. We have Microsoft, Meta, Robinhood, QCOM, Amazon, Apple, Airbnb, Reddit, right? Reddit's going to be interesting. I want to see what Reddit does. And so a lot of big names this week. Just be careful of that going into our session ahead of us. And I think this is maybe why, right? Maybe why I decided yesterday, around live trading, I decided I should probably just focus on SPY, right? Because if I just brought a lot of the things I was doing on these other tickers into SPY, I probably would have done a lot better yesterday. Now, granted, right? I think the reason why that's the case is because of the heavy earnings season. When you have stocks that are impacted by specific news events, i.e. earnings, sometimes you may not get the most incredible moves. For example, I love Amazon. I'm going to show you guys why I love Amazon today. I love this Amazon level 190. From a technical standpoint, and every other day of the week, we probably would nail Amazon over 190 today, right? But there may be a reason why we don't trade Amazon. Even though it is a really good technical chart, there's a really good technical level, there may be a reason why we don't trade Amazon, and we'll talk about that. Because again, the reason why is because earnings are looming, okay? So we'll dive into this stuff, we'll go over everything, and I want to go right into our charts where we can really go through what we have to go through today, okay? So 1,000 people in, 8:40 a.m., and we are starting the charts. So we are actually perfect timing today. Just a forewarning, I did not fix my camera yet. I have no idea why, but the 30-minute mark, at the 35-minute mark, it starts to glitch out. So we have to deal with it. It's going to happen. I know it's going to happen today. I didn't fix it yet. I'll probably fix it for tomorrow's session. Okay. So on the SPY chart, yesterday's session, we spoke about the 550 demand. We said, hey, there's demand here at 550, right? And if we lose the 550, 551, we should see a move back down to 545. This was your downside move yesterday, right? Either the break and retest here for shorts, or you could have break and retested this for shorts, and that was probably your best downside move, right? Under 550 for the downside move back into 545. We spoke yesterday's session in detail about why the market's still bullish if it pulls back. And that's exactly what happened. We found support here at 545, and 545 has become the new support in yesterday's low. Okay, so that's what happened yesterday's session. It's a quick recap of yesterday's session. Now, going into our session today, it's oddly similar to where we opened at yesterday. In fact, it's almost the same exact thing, right? You can see we're opening at the exact same price we opened at yesterday's session on Monday. Okay, so what does this mean for today's session? Well, it means this. It means we're going to do the same thing we did yesterday, okay? We know that if we want to look for upside, you want to see us break and hold above that Friday high. Friday high is 551. Remember we spoke about, hey, Friday high breaks. If Friday high breaks, we see upside. Well, we saw a little bit of upside yesterday. 551 upside breakout. We probably see that again today above 551. Where did we go to? It should be 560, but now we also have a high built on yesterday's session of 553.5. So watch the 553.5, the Monday's highs. If you do break and hold above this level, above this 551 level, which we are in the morning right now, we should see a movement back to 553.5. That's what I'm seeing here in the SPY chart. That's your first trade today, a trend-based entry, longs back into 553.50. But again, if you want to see a real free-flowing move, I would want to see us above that Monday's highs as well. Above Monday's highs, that's a more free-flowing move back into the 560 level, which again, 560 becomes a big resistance because if you zoom all the way out over here, you know that's where we have those lows, the lows, and the lows back from March, late March and early February. Okay, so really just late March, right? Not even February. February's back over here. So just late March lows, and then obviously the bear flag lows coming in at 570. So if we do break above these Monday's highs here, 553.5, I would expect some sort of trendy action back into 560s. That's what I would look for today here on the SPY chart. Okay. Now, if we do fail lower today, and this was an important tidbit from yesterday's session. What did we say? If the market fails lower yesterday, right? Where do we go to? We go to 545. The market is bullish as long as we're above 545. That's a very important understanding. You can scalp puts, you can do all you want with the put side, but as long as we are above 545, we are holding technical bullish momentum, bullish trend, bullish structure. This is the level, this is the level, this has become the level. If we're above this level, we're bullish, looking for long side back into 560s, okay? If we lose the 545, then we should look for puts all the way back into 540, back into 535. I am not saying we can't buy puts, though, if we're above 545. We could buy puts. We could buy puts at the 55350. We could look for fades there back at the Monday's highs. We could even look for fades at 560 for puts. But it doesn't mean it's going to be a market sort of circuit breaking move. We're not going to see a circuit breaking move off 560. You're just going to see a little bit of some reaction downside or some reaction downside off the Monday highs. Those are the big levels. So Monday's highs being 553.5 and the 560 supply being a level as well. Again, market's still bullish as long as we're above 545. That's your pivot today's session. If we're above it, look for longs. Okay. On the ES chart, it's very similar, right? But I would argue it's you have this 5,500 level here in ES's chart. Okay, you can see it. It's all right in front of us. 5,500 ES is right there, dead smack on the chart. Now, 5,500 is a little bit higher than where the lows came in yesterday's session on Monday. Right? You guys can see it, right? Well, that's important because it's not just 5,500 anymore. We're watching 5,500 all the way down to 54.90. That's your ES level. So 5,500 to 54.90 as technical support, right? If we're above this level, we're bullish, looking for longs. And now I would say if we can break above the Monday's highs here, above that 5578, we can look for longs back in 5,600 ES. And again, this is another level here that we don't even have on the SPY chart, but that's where we probably go to. We should break, if we do see a break and hold above that 5578, we should see a movement back into 5600 ES and then back into that 5700 ES. And I would even argue, to be honest with you, right, this 5600 ES, why is this an important level? It's really not. It's just a psychological level, right? From a technical standpoint, if you do break above 5580, you should see a movement back into 5700, right? That's what we should go to here on the ES chart. So what I would expect at this point now is I would do this here on ES. I'd look for the break and hold above the 5578, but the 5580 for longs back into 57, or I would look for some sort of pullback long here 55. If the market breaks below 55, that's your short side move and your play down lower back in 5400 ES. So pretty interesting charts here this morning on the SPY chart, on the ES chart. I would say, it's very clear. It's very, very clear levels. As long as you're above this 55, we are holding bullish. The market is strong, and we can look for long side entries. Okay. So that is what we have today on the SPY, on the ES 846. We're moving now to QQQ. On the Qs chart, could you possibly have had a better day, right? This is why I look back at things yesterday, and for me, I didn't predict it. I had a really good last week, Monday session, very slow session for me, right? And I looked back and I was wondering, well, why was it a slow session? Well, just pure stock selection, right? Sometimes in trading, you're just gonna pick the wrong name to watch, right? Because if you look at the Qs yesterday, look at the SPY yesterday, from a technical standpoint, there actually were some really beautiful entries. What did we say yesterday about this level here in QQQ? We said, hey, watch the 468. If we can form a little bit of a red candle in the 468, we said this precisely. If we pull back into 468, this is your optimal long entry and a play back higher. Look at what happened yesterday's session. Where did we begin to form the lows yesterday, right? You can argue, you can make some arguments to me. You could say, Brett, well, we formed a low here at 467, so you're wrong. Maybe you can argue that to me, but again, I'm not arguing that, right? I think the whole zone was between 468 and 467, right? And we've sort of formed a low there, and that's where we saw some upside reversion back into highs. So by all means, right? By all means, a bullish session yesterday, right? By all means, a bullish session yesterday, consolidating above 468. Now the question becomes this: do we break above 475? If we can break above 475, upside back into 485. Simple, right? That's what we have here in the Qs, right? Above 475, upside back into 45. Below 468, below 467, downside back into 460s, 450s, right? So that's, and we are, and this the reason why I'm saying things that we don't expect to happen today is because sometimes you don't expect these things to happen and they do happen. The market's in a consolidating range here, right? You can call this a rally-based rally. You can call it a rally-based rally, right? It still is by all means a rally-based rally. So most people are expecting long side today. If the market does flip under 467, what do you think it's going to do to all those long side plays? It's going to cause us to fizzle out. So if you do see a failure under 467, not 468, but under 467, that in my opinion shifts the market, and we see a downside move back into 460s, back into 450s. And here's the thing, right? If you're trading today's session, you want to look for a real high conviction play, look for this. Simply look for a 475 break and hold, or look for a 467 break and hold downside move here in the Qs. On the SPY chart, it's the same thing, guys. It's literally the same thing, right? It's 5535 Monday's highs. It's also the 545 here on the SPY chart, right? If you break that, then I would expect some downside, some knee-jerk reaction selling back into the lower 540s. Okay, so that is where we are finished for the ETFs. We're now gonna move on to the individual tickers. We're gonna start off. How many people do you have in here? We have 1,200 people here. 1,200 people here, and a good amount of likes. I'm happy with it. Let's move on. Tesla. So Tesla, we missed Tesla yesterday, and I probably got maybe 20 DMs about us missing Tesla yesterday. Maybe that was a sign not to trade Tesla yesterday. Tesla was just a shit stock. It looked really good for breakout. It looked good for a breakout play. I'll show you where I went long yesterday. I went long yesterday on this red candle right here. Right, this 950 candle right here, I went long. I'll show you where I went long exactly. I went long here at 290, and stopped out right here under that dotted line right here at 288.6. That was my day yesterday. It was not a big loss, maybe 15-16%, and then I took a little bit of SPY and made back half of that. And this was a really nice tactical breakout above the daily 200 SMA, above that pre-market high 290. And we failed it, right? We failed it pretty aggressively, broke down, retested it for shorts, and then flipped back down lower. Tesla yesterday was actually a bear sided chart, right? By all means, Tesla flipped from a long side chart to a bear side chart. Why did it do that? Well, because initially it was bullish above the 290s, right? And then when it lost the 290s, it was now bearish and flipped back for lower, right? So this was yesterday's session. This was not a bad chart yesterday, really. It was a quick flip here, but it became actually a tradable short into the end of day session, and we saw some nice movement under 280 back into the dead zone, under 280 back into 276, 275. So Tesla yesterday actually not a bad chart, just early morning breakout, failed and downside. Now today's session, what are we watching for in Tesla? Well, the same thing yesterday is what I'd watch out for today, right? If we can hold above the 292, 291, right, this whole zone over here, this is where I'd expect some upside, right? If we can clear above this big red band here, right? And I would give this as much room as possible. I would let this fully break out, right? Clear above that 291.50, 292 area, right? Then give you a little flag play back in the highs. And that's what I look out for today, right? Because you don't want to get caught in some early morning traps, because that's sort of what happened yesterday, right? Early morning traps got caught up and it flipped from a long side chart to a bear side chart. Sometimes the strongest names in the market, i.e. Friday session, strongest name in the market, right? Monday session, one of the strongest names in the pre-market. The strongest name in the market can flip bearish if they get trapped, right? So today's session, you don't want to go long on this until it clears above the trap, right? Above the 291.50 is where things become clear, and we can look for upside back into 300. Pretty simple chart here on the Tesla chart. Let's move on, guys. Let's talk about the next ticker. Let's go over Nvidia. So what did we say about Nvidia, right? Nvidia is my best friend, and I love Nvidia. I love the way Nvidia trades. Early morning, we failed 110, right? We failed 110. We broke down 110. We retested 110 for a downside move. We saw a downside come into 106. And to be honest with you, I was not watching this at all, right? I was not watching shorts. I was not watching shorts at all. But what I was watching, and what we did speak about yesterday, was a 106 bounce. The 106 bounce worked out perfectly yesterday. I'm sure many of you guys probably trade this 106 level. 106 was a really nice technical demand zone yesterday. And this is where we formed a double bottom low, right off of yesterday's session. Now, the question becomes today, how do we trade this now? If you want to trade Nvidia today, you are doing this. This is what I would do here on Nvidia. Okay, this is what I would do precisely. This is what we would do. So we are holding above trend line. We are holding above 106. It still has bullish momentum. Where does that change? Well, we don't want to bounce the 106 anymore. The 106 is already bounced. In fact, if it breaks now under 106, this is a short play and a downside move in 100. Very important. I am not bullish or bearish on Nvidia anymore. I'm simply just a spectator watching the chart. Yesterday, I would tell you I'm more bullish because, again, we had already broken out and we were above all my levels. Now we're back at 106. We bounced off of it once. On today's session, I'm not bullish or bearish. I'm simply just a spectator. If we break below 106, I am now not a spectator. I'm a bear side player, and I'm looking for a move back into 100, right? Under 106 for shorts, under these lows here for shorts, back into 100. That's a really nice technical play today. Okay, it's the first play. The second play is going to be a break and hold above 110, right? If you break and hold 110 today, above 110, look for longs back at 115. Nice tactical chart, nice technical play back into 115 supply. Again, the reason why I say this is because if you do break above 110, break above 110, break above 110, we should see 115 here on the Nvidia chart. So what we're going to do essentially is trade either the channel high or channel low. That's what we're going to do here, okay? Right. Basent speaking now? Yes, but I think Basent is speaking now. AMD. AMD highs. This chart still under major supply here in AMD, but it will be super interesting to see if this can break above 98. If it can break 98, we have a nice technical play back into the 102 area. So 98, watch 98. Don't go crazy in AMD, right? If you're getting a long AMD, I mean 94 support, right? I see 94 support, but the real level now is 98. If it can clear 98, that's where you get a free-flowing move. And I would watch this chart. I would keep this in the back burner, right? Because if this does break 98, you're going to see some free-flowing upside plays here. That's what I'm watching today on AMD, above 98 for calls. Okay. On the SMH, you can see SMH holding above 204. SMH holding support. That's the most important thing for me on chips, is to watch to see if SMH is holding above 204, 205, and it is. So that is a bullish thing. Okay. Avgo. On the Avgo chart yesterday, also you can see 186.50. As long as Avgo is above this level right here, we are holding bullish momentum, looking for longs back at 200. I don't really love Avgo, but just showing you guys the chart so you can see it as we move on to the next ticker today. Let's go over some other names. Amazon. So Amazon. Remember I said something on Amazon, right? I said Amazon 190. Amazon 190, very big technical level. If we can hold above 190 today, we can look for longs back into 200, right? The reason why I like this chart is because you can see we have a triple top consolidation, right? Triple top consolidation right under key level, right under a major trend flip, right? So above 190 should be a really nice free-flowing move back into the daily 200 SMA, a little flag play here, an upside back into 200. That's what I would expect here on the Amazon chart. But here's the problem. The problem is, bam, right smack in front of us, Amazon earnings on Thursday after hours, okay? That's the problem. This is the problem. This was the problem with, I think, a lot of tickers yesterday, was the fact that if you're in Tesla calls over a level, you're in Nvidia over a level, right? And you think, wow, by all means, this stock should go. Well, you may be the only one that thinks that. The reason why is because earnings are saying different. Earnings are saying that there's not going to be a big move on Amazon until Amazon reports its earnings on Thursday, in which case we're not going to see that move that you want to happen. So just be careful of that today's session. It's a very common thing, and sometimes you're going to take some learning lessons to understand that, right? It may take you a few trades to realize, wow, even though Amazon does look incredibly beautiful over 190, maybe that trade is not a good trade. And probably if we do see a nice strong break above 190 today, I probably still will take the trade. I'm telling you that I probably will still take the trade, right? But I know that I'm going to be just scalping this. I'll be in here and I'll be out there. I'm not going to look for the full move to 200. I'm not going to do that, right? Because even though it should technically happen, I don't think it will happen so quickly because, again, of those earnings. Fancy, thank you very much, Fancy. You are very, very kind, Fancy. I think that's your third day in a row or fourth day in a row. It's very, very kind of you. Yes, in fact, we will go over Meta right now. So Meta. On the Meta chart, it is very simple, very similar to that Amazon chart. Remember we said that 190 on Amazon, it should be your equivalent of 557 here on Meta, right? Now, even though I'm saying that, I can see this here on the Meta chart. I can see just a very classic bull flag, right? Very classic bull flag. And you can see the same thing probably in Amazon too. But here it's a very classic bull flag. And if you're going to trade this bull flag, or you can call it whatever you want, you can call it a symmetrical triangle, bull flag, whatever you may want to do, whatever you want to call it, right? But above your 555 level, that's where I think things become interesting. You can see here that's that Monday high session high, that Thursday session high. It's that high from April 11, Friday, April 11. It's that consolidation highs over here, the consolidation lows over here before downside came in. So your clear level is actually right here, right? It's simply 554. From a pure technical standpoint, we are bull flagging on the meta chart. Yes, I see it. This is a bull flag, but we're bull flagging right into supply, supply, supply. So bull flags like this to me are pretty much meaningless because I'm not going to come in here and buy calls right now until I see this hold above the 555, right? That would be a long side entry. Or we do the 537 demand bounce, and that would be another level to watch out for. That's a session low from Friday, the session high from Wednesday. If you're going to trade meta, it's either there or it's either here. That's what it is. If we lose 537, then we get downside back into the 518, and I would expect this to sort of even go lower potentially back into 500. So you don't want this to lose, and I would even say probably this low here, right? Not just the high here, 537, but actually this low here, 532. So I would give it all the way to 532. If it's above 532, it's bullish. If we lose the 532, that's when things become a little bit tricky. Move back into 518. Okay. Trent, thank you, Trent. That is also very kind of you, guys. Just so you know, I will go over these tickers. If you want to donate to help the stream, update the camera, right? Do something crazy. I will take it, right? But I don't want you to feel like you have to donate for us to go over tickers because I will go over JetBlue. Absolutely, I will. Or maybe I won't. We'll find out. But I will. SoFi, 14. 14 on SoFi. Don't get excited here. Do not get excited here, right? SoFi, this is an exciting stock because of earnings, but we are sitting right back at major supply here. 14.0, 14.0, 14.0. If you're going to trade SoFi, if you were going to trade SoFi, what did we say? This is so important, right? Sometimes you just don't do anything, right? Where you were going to do something, where you should have done something on SoFi was when we spoke about it on the Thursday, April 24th. We said, guys, we are bearish here on Tuesday, right? And then on Wednesday session, on Thursday session, it flipped. We said, holy Moses, this chart is actually flipping from a bear bias to a bull bias. Your entry should have been right here. If you did not enter SoFi there, if you didn't trade SoFi here, you should not be coming in today's session and saying, wow, I want to trade SoFi today because this looks incredible. You should have done it here. This was your entry, right? When we flipped and maintained above that daily 200 SMA, that was your long entry, right? Now today's session, it's not there anymore. Now the problem is supply, right? Your problem is red alert supply. If you're going to trade this, what you're going to do is you're either going to look for a break and pullback long here, 11.3, right? 11.3 for pullback long, or you just let it break out. You let it break out above 14.0, build a strong leg above the 14.0, then look for dips back into 14.0 for a long side move. Be patient, let it play out. Don't be a chaser on SoFi. Just my 2 cents, okay? I know you guys are probably going to do your own thing, but just giving you guys my 2 cents on SoFi. Right, so let's go over JetBlue. JetBlue. Fancy guy, I know that. I know that for sure. But I just want to make sure. I want to make sure everyone else knows that too. But I absolutely know that. So JetBlue. JetBlue support obviously around 13.0. You can see 13.4. 13.4. You can see double bottom lows here in the daily. On the weekly, this is where it is, guys. Right? If there's one level to have here on JetBlue, it's right in front of us. Right? It's right in front of us. It's right here. This is it, right? It's staring at us right here. It's right here in the weekly time frame, right? You can go in any time frame, probably even the monthly and see it, right? But the daily or the weekly, you can see how important this 3.6, 3.5 area is. If you're going to be accumulating shares here on JetBlue, it's here. It's here, it's here, it's here, it's here, right? And I'm not saying this goes back into highs here, but I am saying that almost every time we've held off support here at 3.5, we've seen an equity play back into 8.0, right? Almost every single time. With the exception over here, I think 7.5 was the limit. So 7.5 was the limit over here, 7.5 was the limit over here, and 8.0 is the limit over here. So if you're going to trade this, I would say you're buying it here, right? You are probably looking for a long side here at 3.5 and selling back at 8.0. that's a pure technical risk rewards trade, and your stop loss is probably under 3.0. That's it. Okay. Let's go over other tickers, guys. What I want to do is I want to go over some names that are reporting earnings. PLTR not reporting earnings, but we'll talk about it because I know you guys love PLTR. PLTR moving a bit more aggressively, right? I would say that this chart is moving too aggressive to yield entries. If you're going to look for an entry on PLTR, I mean, 110 was the bounce area from yesterday's session. I guess that was the level, right? 110 bounce area. So 110 as bounce, that was what worked yesterday. I don't know if I can't recall if we spoke at 110 yesterday. I know we spoke at 104 or 99, but I can't recall if we actually spoke about the 110 level. I can see where it did come into a support, but to me, I don't know. I think it was very aggressive. What I would look out for is I'd watch the 104, right? 104 is a really nice level. And I know you guys who trade PLTR are probably thinking, Brett, PLTR is never going to test 104, right? It will never happen. But I can probably bet it will, right? It will happen eventually. I don't know if it will happen this week, but it will happen eventually. And that's going to be your best long entry, right? Right there, 104, right here at 99. Those are your two best long entries on the PLTR chart, okay? Brett, SPY selling. Yeah, a little bit of selling. Nothing crazy though. Let's move on, guys. I want to go over my camera is still working. So we're going to go into my camera start. We're going to stop as soon as my camera starts glitching out. That's our stopping point, or 9:05. Let's go over some names that reported yesterday, right? So in the pre-market, SoFi, we already went over that. PayPal. Let's go over PayPal. Let's go over PayPal quickly. I'll talk about PayPal, PYPL, nothing, UPS, nothing. So these charts are just doing pretty much nothing. Little flat charts here. What about KO? KO had some interesting news, right? They talked about the resiliency against tariffs. It could be an interesting long side chart for the small accounts, right? If you can watch for a long side trade, I'd watch for a long side trade above this 73, right? Above 73, you can look for longs on KO for a move back into what am I doing over here? What am I doing? Let's fix this properly. 73. Can I draw a horizontal line? I don't know if it's there. You go. 73 back into 74.50. That's what I'd watch out for in KO. Right above 73, move back into 74. That's what I'd look out for today on the KO chart, guys. Perfect timing, absolutely perfect timing. The camera's gone out. We're gonna end it here. Thank you all for joining in. I will see you guys all for live trading if you trade with us. Bye, guys. I'll see you all later.